Thank you everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed your lunch and the show the last couple of days. I know I've really enjoyed it. There's been a lot of really incredible talks about topics that we all find really important. Things like how do you make a great voice experience? How do you monetize? How do you connect it to APIs? How do you make it smarter? How do you create discovery? All of these topics are really, really important. What I'm going to be talking about today is the importance of being social in voice, and by that what I mean is creating social-like experiences and what elements of voice will replace elements of social media and how can we work towards that as this platform evolves. I'm Brandon Kaplan from New York City. I have a creative agency named Skilled Creative, and we build voice experiences for brands like PepsiCo, Mountain Dew, Simon & Schuster, TED Conference, FanDuel, to name a few of our partners. There's a lot of brands that are looking into this platform and they're trying to figure out where can we find these creative edges to it. And in our opinion, the key is to trying to be social in how we do that. So to get started, we're all at this conference. Everybody that's here has some interest in the space, whether you're building, buying, researching, or you came here because you thought it was a cool topic. So we're all here, and there's people in every room at this conference right now talking about what's important in voice right now. And when you really think about it, we're very, very early into this. When we look back 5 years from now, some of the talks at this show are going to seem misinformed, misdirected, crazy, slow, fast, who knows. We'll see how the platform has evolved. But what's key is thinking about what do we have today and how do we build towards the future. So I'm going to talk about how voice becomes social and how we have to treat it with a social attitude. So what do we know that we have? Everyone's talking about the distribution numbers. The number that we're all talking about is by the end of the year, 100 million voice devices distributed. The numbers are around 65% of that being Amazon devices. Depends on which research report you're reading at the time. So we know that we have over 100 million devices potentially distributed by the end of the year. That's not including mobile devices, hundreds of millions of other devices that potentially have some type of a voice interface within them. It's a pretty dramatic distribution. And that's why there's conferences like this. That's why brands are investing. That's why companies are starting up in the space completely around voice first, right? Hashtag voice first. And when we look back at it, there was a talk on this stage before lunch that was about gamification, monetization, and they were saying, we can't compare this exactly to how the iPhone went. It's a completely different platform, graphical interface. I own an app on my phone versus voice where it's in there somewhere, it's on multimodal. But I like to look at voice and I say, if I want to look at how it compares to an iPhone right now, we're kind of in the iPhone 2008 world. And we like to have this conversation with our clients in that in 2008, 3 of the most popular apps on the iPhone were a lightsaber app, a football flicking app, and a fart app, right? So these were not the earth-shattering use cases that we think about when we think of the iPhone. They were locally stored, they weren't live, they weren't pulling in data feeds. You bought it was on your phone, you could flick the little digital piece of paper, right? No one remembers these apps except for fun anecdotes. But what you do remember are things like Vine, Venmo, Instagram, the platforms that came out and really started to kind of kick open doors and show us where are the creative edges to the platform. There's another potential talk on, some of the issues that we have with things like blueprints, where we're kind of trying to template voice right now. We think we need to be kind of explorers and digging into those creative crevices. So, what we don't have is the Vine, the Venmo, the Instagram. We have some really great early use cases. Jeopardy gets a lot of great traction, Song Quiz. There's a lot of great flash briefings and things like that. But what we do have is massive distribution. We have a lot of data around what are the behaviors that people are following within these platforms. What are they searching for? What are they asking for? What are they enabling? And we also know what time of day they're using it. So there's a lot of data that should inform us on what types of user experiences should we be developing. And when our agency is concerned, we say what really matters is we want something that people will remember you for. We want you to make a use case that is a true value exchange between you and the user. It's something that they want, and in turn, we're going to get valuable data back from them on when are they using it, how are they using it, which will inform further iterations of the experience. So we want to be memorable right now because discovery is difficult, and we all don't have the budgets that big brands do. So being memorable is important. And when we talk to big brands, Fortune 500 brands, when you talk to Amazon, you talk to Google, they're saying, okay, let's build these big evergreen experiences. We're going to finally do our pilot. We're going to finally build the thing. And we end up building these experiences that are potentially rigid, right? So we like to push people and say, let's build an experience that, yes, it's a big pilot, a big platform experience. It's your first swing at voice. But set it up in a way where you can be agile, where you can have fresh content and have agile content, agile experiences that grow with your users, that make them want to come back over and over and over again. If you just drop something onto the platform, I use it 3 times, you're not leveraging state messaging, you're not changing your messaging, you're not changing your content, you got me in there and you lost me pretty quick. So build your big idea, but be agile. And that's what I talk about acting social with voice. So what we need is we need the brands to play, right? They are, in a sense. And this isn't to say that the platform depends on brand experiences, but awareness will, in a part, depend on brand dollars, right? So we need the brands to come in and make these great use cases and use their marketing dollars to drive awareness. Because many of the people that own these devices don't actually know what third-party skills are. So we're here working really hard, making these experiences, and discovery is difficult. So let's get the brands to fund the awareness, and in turn, they have a return on their investment. So where are the brands spending their dollars today? When you talk to brands and they say, well, our media dollars are allocated, we can carve off this much for a pilot or a program, and we can allocate dollars towards it or piggyback, brands are still really, really heavily investing in traditional television, in paid media, in social, in out-of-home, in print ads, all of these places that we're aware the dollars are going, but we're maybe not really paying attention. So there's a huge opportunity to show. We had like a fake news label across this earlier because the analytics of a lot of these traditional platforms are very skewed. The impressions are false. So there's potentially dollars that are being misspent without the correct return that should be flowing into voice. And agile content will allow those dollars to flow in. So we go to our brands and we say something like, okay, an influencer program that you're running this year on Instagram or Twitter. An influencer to do a sponsored post or a daily takeover, depending on that person, can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 to $500,000 for a day, for a week. So think about all of you in this room. What could you do with $50,000 or $500,000 in terms of creating an experience for that brand to get much better return on their investment and a better platform for their brand by not doing a quick influencer flare-up, but investing those dollars into social voice experiences? So we think about a situation where we've got the Johnny Walker scotch tasting, you've got a lot of kind of like beer pairing experiences. So build that platform, but let's think about acting social in that sense. So why wouldn't we also have National Rosé Day was in June? Why wouldn't you have a Rosé Day experience, a Rosé emergency where you tied it to a delivery platform and I could just say, Alexa, tell Rosé I have a Rosé emergency and it delivers Rosé to you. It's a one-day experience, right? Don't spend those dollars on an influencer drinking Rosé. Spend those dollars on an experience that will actually engage people and grab their attention. So financial awareness, we have flash briefings, but why couldn't we, the week before New Year's Eve, inform people and say, January 1st for a week, this financial institution is going to have a 7-day financial training habit workshop. Come in every day for 7 days and get your life in order. And that speaks to topically what's important in the moment. So that's agile content. Or football season's coming up, why wouldn't we have a weekly pregame show or my picks or influencers through voice talking about things that will bring me in day of, week of, continually over and over and over again. So for us, it just goes back to what is the value that we can deliver to users and say, how can we bring them back to us over and over and over again? How can we build a relationship where they are running back into our arms for new content, fresh content, and that is really thinking about the user experience, not scraping your website, putting it into a voice experience. It's where can we create agile interactions. So we want brands to think about voice socially, not necessarily from a graphical user interface perspective, but from a behavior perspective. And there's an element of this where we look at it and we say, how does this tie into content marketing, which is where this kind of leaps from. I was previously at a content marketing agency, moved into this technology space because I saw the shift happening, commoditization in content marketing and the opportunity in voice. So look at what fresh content in web and mobile and SEO did, and think about what does a website that has fresh content do? It creates habits. I go to The Verge every single day because I know I will get X. The Verge is indexing far better than its competitors because they are launching content every day against Y, and they're constantly filling in with new keywords, short tail, long tail keywords, to improve how they're surfacing. So there's implications for this on voice as well. There was another talk in this room yesterday about voice SEO, which is super early. But how you are SEO kind of optimized in Google is how you'll surface in voice on Google. And you have to do all those important things. What's the push and pull between voice and Google and keywords and schemas and having the right structure? But Amazon just released something that's really, how many people in the room know about the can fulfill intent? Anybody? A couple, you're from Amazon, you don't count. So the can fulfill intent is like crazy. So Amazon released this. It's essentially their effort to create SEO. It's how does your skill respond to the queries that people are putting out into voice? So if I structure my skill and I build a lot of content into it and I embed long tail keywords and I'm putting in phrases and responses to things like how do I get a soup stain out of a t-shirt, you actually will surface as a skill recommendation over a web search. So take, for example, 6 months ago, if you asked Alexa, how do I get a soup stain out of a t-shirt, the spruce.com, which I had never heard of before, but their SEO is amazing, would show up. If you ask Alexa today, how do I get a soup stain out of a t-shirt, it's likely that they will recommend the Tide skill to you. Because the Tide skill has done a really phenomenal job at responding to those queries. So think about creating the content that responds to the interest and then getting people into your platform and having social-like experiences that bring them back over and over again. This is really important because by 2020, and I hate like the 2020 numbers, which are now becoming 2022 numbers, but it's a number, 50% of searches are going to be done through voice. So you're going to have, obviously we're trying to drive enablement of our skills, but the opportunity of being social with people through voice, and that 50% of search queries are through voice, and you have an opportunity for your experience to be recommended as the solution to that, which starts the relationship, which is your responsibility to foster through a good experience. So think about that compared to where the media dollars are going today. I walk right by a billboard. I scroll quickly past a sponsored ad on Facebook. YouTube, really good job. But some of these platforms where the dollars are still going, we're not really necessarily paying attention to. But when you can get someone into your voice experience, so long as you're having a completion of a good percentage, which means you're making a good experience, you've got them in your platform. It's enabled. There's an opportunity for notifications. There's an opportunity to grab phone numbers and emails. So when I'm in your platform, or you're in my platform, it's the start of a socialized relationship. So create a value for me so that I want to come back over and over and over again. So what we have today is social-ish on the platform. We have things like drop-in, which is kind of human-to-human social, very light. We have flash briefings, which are a daily kind of news briefing of what we're going to experience. We have routines, essentially, on both platforms, which if you kind of make it into my select group, I'll put you in my morning routine, so you're kind of my automatic news feed. And then just like thousands and thousands and thousands of skills. So we're vying for attention today. So what do we have to do today is we have to support. We have to make great experiences, I'm not saying to abandon all of the other channels. We have to work in concert with all of the other channels, and we have to still use emails to drive traffic to us. We have to use social media to drive traffic to us. We have to still use banner ads, because that's all part of an omni-channel approach, and we have to drive people to our platform. But the key is create a platform that once I'm there feels social and feels agile, where I know I can come back to you. So use the other platforms as a lead gen for you, and that's what we have to do today. We have to lean on other platforms, and we have to create omni-channel approaches to voice. And we cannot forget multimodal. So thinking about being on an Echo Show versus on the Google Assistant, being in someone's car, being on a device, there are subtle iterations that you can shift on how your content is delivered based on which platform they're engaging through. Multimodality is really key for socializing with me in the right way depending on where I am, which is kind of a limitation of traditional social platforms right now. We have a much more broad multimodality in voice. And then think about just being agile with your content. We have built for our clients an internal platform where we play with our code in a way that we have a front-end UX. Our clients can just go in and change out blocks of copy, and it automatically swaps out in the skill. And for us, it's getting the brand managers who were really excited about making a skill, excited about keeping up the skill. So you don't want to launch something, traffic's great for a couple of weeks, and then you see return visits die off because I'm getting the same responses, I'm getting the same content. So keeping content fresh, thinking about like a Hootsuite or a WordPress, treat your voice experiences with agility, and you'll be able to give people fresh content they can come back to over and over again. And that's how you win out in the end. So there's this future, right? We don't have any traditional voice social media platforms. We are a little bit restricted right now with how we can pull in live data. So we can't necessarily have a live news feed. You can push information to a database and then pull information in from that database, but we don't really have social interactions that are plausible today on voice. But we can work towards that. And think of a future where through voice, you're purchasing your influencer campaigns to be a voice takeover for the day. Or maybe there's media platforms that pop up where there's actual voice influencers who know how to speak to us in the right way. Who's going to be the Tasty of voice? Tasty really grabbed the graphical interface of Instagram and Facebook and said, you know, we're going to spin something out of BuzzFeed, so who could be the Tasty of voice? Or where does sponsored content, you know, play into it as well? So we can look towards a future where there's actually going to be social media platforms that are launched voice first, but today we have to start acting in a social way so that we can work towards that. And, you know, just kind of anecdotally, Facebook is launching some type of a device in the near future. They were supposed to launch it this summer. I think because of privacy news related to them, they're probably holding off from launching a speaker in your house. But the social channels are looking at this platform. So, you know, essentially what we're saying is this is a completely different platform. You have people right now doing searches, they're on social, they're buying media in other places, and you think about, could I type into voice, could I say to voice what I would type, right? Like, you know, dad says, how make chicken, what? Like, where buy chicken, you know, this isn't Google, this is voice. So we have to change our behaviors and how we're creating experiences for people. And the summary of it for us is, you want to create a social stickiness. There are certain things that you're doing on social media today that you can shift over into voice, and you can make people aware that those experiences are available in voice. So make sure that you are delivering fresh content. Make sure that you are delivering unique, really interesting use cases that you can drive people to. Make sure that you are leveraging all platforms possible to drive traffic to it, to start that relationship, that social relationship with people. Don't forget about multimodal. Treat it as if you're, you know, optimizing for SEO, right? So varied content, fresh content, using a variance of keywords, making sure you're responding to people in the right way so you can track into those can fulfill intents. And then be the Instagram. So maybe you have a one-off experience that you just want people to interact with. There certainly is an opportunity to think through what is the social platform. If it's not flash briefings, it's not daily routines, be the Instagram. Think about the opportunity. Everyone in this room has an opportunity to be the Vine, the Venmo, and the Instagram. But for us, it's just don't launch something quickly, abandon it, and hope you're going to be successful. It's let's make content that is a value exchange, but let's make sure that we keep it fresh. So that's the end of the talk. I did note on the Slack that since we're talking about social media, I wanted to do a little bit of social media trivia, and it's hard because there's people in here, but whoever I guess shoots their hand up, I'll ask them first. Who can tell me in 1997 what was the first recognized social media platform? Right? No. Nope. No. Nope. Nope. Kevin Bacon. Think about Kevin Bacon. Who said it? Over there? 6 Degrees. There was a social platform called 6 Degrees that was the first recognized social media platform where you can make a profile and connect with people. Like the fart app of yesterday on the phone, nobody in this room knew 6 Degrees except for this gentleman over here. So that just shows the speed of iteration. So let's create these platform experiences that people will remember and come back to. Be social with people in your experiences, and you'll be successful. Any questions?
Isn't voice already integrated in some of the functions that we use? For example, on a keypad or a keyboard, you could hit the microphone button and you start talking, and then you're able to dictate things. For example, I can make a tweet, or I can compose a post, or an email, or a text. So isn't that something that brands can introduce, starting with that, to promote that feature of what they already have?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to push into, databases or pull from databases. So crawling into those features are the things that you could come up with a unique use case that gets offered in a packaged consumer manner. Any other questions?
So if I understand correctly, in order for the user to give feedback, it has to be limited to the intent, right? It's narrowed down to the intent.
Yeah.
The limitation is in social media is open-ended, and Facebook there's a lot of feedback that's provided.
Yeah.
That's not the situation with voice, right? So is that one of the limitations that you're seeing?
It's kind of a half limitation. So you definitely track the intents, and that's really important. It's thinking about how you script things so that the intents give us a lot of information. But Google gives you the full utterance scripting. Alexa does now have a functionality that allows you to search for it gives you essentially the 10 most queried questions of the day. So you can actually start to get full utterance queries through Amazon. So both platforms are starting to open that up. If that's a limitation today, it's something that is opening up. That is a really important data set that we talk to our clients about, is starting to understand those intents and those utterances, because if I'm Tide or I'm Procter & Gamble, the phrase structure of how people speak about my brand should inform how I speak back to them. And that is social. It's not full live back and forth yet.
So just to follow up, so if you wanted to do voice and yell, you wouldn't be able to do that right now, right? You'd have a limitation on the window.
In what sense?
Well, the feedback that the user provides.
Yeah, I mean, you can't leave a voice review right now. But so we have a couple examples where we've built website landing pages as companions to our voice experiences. So if you want to leave a review, go here, or if you want to convert into something else, you can have a website that generates a database that then your voice experience pulls into. So I can't say I ate at this restaurant, Alexa, leave a review for blank today. It's not doable. They won't convert that voice to text and then use it as content. Any other questions? Yes?
For the creatives, in terms of actually creating the content, who at your agency, or do you see at the brands or their creative agency, are they tasking with creating the content? Is it the traditional team that they have in place, or some team they're developing specifically for that content?
It's so wildly varied. I can give a little bit of context. We do a roundtable every month with brands in New York on voice. Closed door, 10 brands, they chew it up, they say what's good, what's bad. A year ago, not a single brand in the room had a voice experience live. We did one last month. Every single brand had launched an experience, was working on it, or had a voice task force in their company. So it's oftentimes starts with the marketing department, it moves to their product team, and they're either doing it all internally, or they're hiring external agencies, or it's a mix. There's no silver bullet answer. For us personally, we don't look at ourselves as a dev shop. We're a creative agency that's building voice. So we have a rule 2 creatives to every developer on every project. Because for us, the user experience is paramount. The functionality is there.
But that creative, I mean, traditionally, right, would be a graphic designer.
Yep.
Right? Is that, I can't imagine that's the same skill you need.
No. Copywriters, game structure designers, UX designers. We hire comedians as conversational designers. We train them. People that know how to write a joke and get a punchline and get me to the next line turn out to be really great conversational designers for us. I was just talking about this with the Alexa team, and that we're kind of pulling creatives from all over the place. Varied skill sets and varied age ranges. We don't have any kind of like age limitations. You know, people that have been in the industry and have written 500 TV ads may not know the platform as well, but they know what people like and they know how to write for that. So there's a really big opportunity, no matter who you are in creative right now. Any other questions? I think that's it. All right, thank you all very much.